Chapter 67. You came all this way only to just leave so easily, isn't it just? Boring, isn't it? Lucifer spoke bombastically as he noticed we weren't going to be jerked around on some nonsense. Lucifer, I understand you don't like to ruin your fun and use your omniscience. But I am only asking for Vandal Savage's location. I am willing to owe you a favor to be done within creation. Or I could even take you outside the bounds of creation and help you to the void past the source wall, and you could make your way wherever you want from there. I offered, and Lucifer scoffed, shaking his head. Now Jake. That's an intriguing offer, but... He drew off as he swirled his whiskey, and then he continued with a darker light to his tone. I know of the monsters that lie behind the source wall that even my asshole of a father cares little to tangle with. As just as he is the light of presence, there is also the darkness of nothingness, and in order to reach a new universe you must pass through the all-swallowing darkness that cannot be skipped merely by taking fey paths, as none exist that can bypass the darkness. Lucifer mused, and I took his warning deep within my heart, that the fey paths didn't work past the source wall basically. But I was the unbound traveler, and a cloud of shadows, no matter their power and reach, will not bind me. Very well. Then in that case we shall take our leave, seeing as you will not assist us. I said, nodding to Lucifer, and stood up with Galatea, and Lucifer's eyes snapped to a slitted red shade as he obviously felt irritated at us just giving up on him and not providing him directly with entertainment. Wait. He spoke up with some anger in his voice, but as I looked to him, I saw him bearing a cruel smile that stretched across his face a bit too wide to be human. Rather than give Vandal, I will give you the location of Clarion. And after you kill him, all the light's magical protections will become nil. But in return I want you to do me the favor of killing a greater demon here in LA by the name of Varus, and retrieve the magical weapon he has, called the Ace of Winchesters. Lucifer continued, and I frowned hearing him name the magical rifle that with its 14 original bullets could kill damn near anything in the DC universe. Hell, the Colt from the show Supernatural was based on the rifle. What will you do with the Ace of Winchesters? I shook my head before continuing. No, that's none of my business. Just give me the location of Varus, and I will deal with him, and after you get the Ace of Winchesters you will give me Clarion's location. I said, sticking out my hand for Lucifer to shake. Very well. That will do, Jake. Lucifer said, wearing a more natural smile as he reached over and took my hand to shake it. Now Varus is actually the CEO of the largest bank here in LA and regularly dips his grubby hands into making unbalanced deals with the mortals that even rubs me raw. But the man is a craven coward and has magical protections that I don't want to risk my dear Mazikeen to make an example out of him. And that's where you two come in. He said grandly, and I frowned as I realized that dealing with this Varus dude was going to be high profile no matter what I do. The demon of greed is currently at this very moment smugly about to go about sacrificing a little girl with powers to the pits that he bought from Clarion's little metahuman trafficking operation. So, I suggest you get to work now, Jake. Lucifer said, and I wanted to snarl at how he was so willing to use his powers of omniscience to see exactly where and what Varus was doing. He could stop and deal with him on his own. But I held in my irrationality as I merely took Galatea's hand and pulled her up with me as I power-walked us out of the Lux. Jake, what are you going to do with the girl he is sacrificing? If you leave her, then either Waller's new plan for captured metahuman children that get put into the system will get her, or she will probably be taken by someone else. Galatea asked me pointedly, and for a moment I considered taking whatever girl was there as a maid or something from my castle in my realm of Hueco Mundo, but I shook that thought aside as I mentally groaned. I will drop her off with Wonder Woman. She could use something to focus on with how much trouble we probably brought her. I answered as we quickly flew over the city of Los Angeles, and I snarled as I felt demonic energy building up in the large bank office skyscraper in the distance, and knew whatever ritual Varus was planning was well on its way. You get the girl out of there. I will kill Varus and get the Ace of Winchesters. If the League shows up, use my blessing to get back to my realm and don't fight them, but you could leave the girl with them. I ordered as I dashed away from Galatea with a sonido, and I roared as my body coated itself in spiritual energies as I rammed at supersonic speeds into the demonic wards that surrounded the bank. Varus, I am here for you. I yelled, hoping to distract him as I tore through the wards, and I saw the demon standing over a little girl with blonde hair with strawberry red streaks going through it, and was wearing a white dress that was covered in the blood from her slit-open wrists. Violently, with no care for my own well-being, I broke through the demonic wards that fried my skin with hellish black flames, but my mind was on only one goal. With one final sonido, I broke through the wards, and I punched Varys so hard he fully shattered the crumbling ward system on the other side of the office tower as he was sent flying out of the office tower and down towards the parking lot that surrounded the office tower. Jake, I am taking the girl directly to the League. She is bleeding too much. I heard Galatea yell out and I wanted to curse, but seeing Varys standing back up to his feet I could only nod as I dived down from the skyscraper to continue my battle. Varys was 8 feet tall, very muscular toad-like humanoid monsters, and as I had dived down, I was welcomed by the lungs of the demon violently expanding as it took a deep breath, and then I felt my ears pop as the demon yelled at me with a sonic attack. Die! Windows shattered across the city as the sonic attack spread outwards, but I only responded with a roar enhanced with my spiritual energies that pushed down his own sonic wave attack backward, and eventually, our attacks cancelled each other out as it ballooned outwards like a wave of destruction that crumbled the nearby parked cars like cans in a vacuum. The demon then tried to burn me away by raising a hand towards my, falling directly towards his form, with a demonic magical sigil forming that sent a deluge of black demonic flames, but I weathered the flames with my arrow-coated form, and then as I finally reached him after a couple seconds of falling through the flames, I grabbed his flame-throwing hand by its wrist and snapped it like a twig in my own hand. No more magic. I smiled bloodthirstily as I used the demon's broken wrist as a pivot to use the wrestling technique that Wonder Woman taught me to use on much larger opponents, and thus, I threw the demon over my shoulders using a bit of my flight to get off the ground so the demon would crash its head on the hard concrete to daze it for a moment. Now die, demon! I roared as I shifted the demon so I could sit on its chest and just hammer into its face with ball-covered fists, and eventually I felt the demon's hard skull give way under my fists that had invisible solid wind spikes on my knuckles. My brutal takedown of the demon had taken less than a couple of minutes, most of which consisted of me pinning the demon to the ground so it couldn't use its magic to escape or fight back while I beat it to death, but I could already hear sirens on their way and knew with such a major bank building being attacked that the League was undoubtedly en route, even if LA had little to no real hero presence other than Obsidian and Manhunter. Gotta get the gun now, I muttered as I used a sonido to get back into the office tower after giving the headless form of Varys one last glance.